It's time for a stash changer. Today's guests are a real workhorse. It's the Janome Memory Craft 6000. A real style pile. It's Grace's fabric stash. What is man but a miserable pile of fabrics? Snoopervisor extraordinaire. It's Piper. And with your host, me. I've been here the whole time. Today we're playing Stash Roulette. You know how this works, right? Oh, you don't? It's pretty simple. Blindfolded, I'm going to choose a pattern from my pattern stash. Then, using a randomized picker, I'm going to use one of my 6 different fabric stash drawers to make that pattern with whatever's in there. It might not work. I have coat patterns, I have pants patterns, I have jumpsuits, swimsuits. I have a wide range of patterns and also a wide range of fabric. I'm doing this to punish myself and also get rid of stash so that I can make more. Because I have a problem. Whatever I pick is whatever I get. It means I might have to make a coat out of tulle. It means I might have to make a swimsuit out of corduroy. I don't really know what's going to happen. And I'm very worried. But I think it's time to play Stash Roulette. First things first, I'm gonna choose a pattern blindfolded. That way there is no way to know which I actually choose. I haven't touched all of these in quite a while, and the range varies both in time, in style, and in garment. I gotta do it. We're gonna be extra careful with the scissors, because I know y'all worry. Editing Grace, give me some music. I chose this one. Is it like facing correctly? Hold on. I chose this one. Oh, that's cute. I don't know how much structured fabric I have. I don't like wear a lot of dresses. I've never made this one. No, I have to. This is the conceit of it I know. This is the conceit. Plus, who knows, maybe with the fabric this will get crazy. We're looking at Vogue Easy Options, V9267, and it's got a custom cup fit.
Spin that wheel!
Here we go. Oh, you can't look? She can't look. Six it is. I guess we should go see what's in number 6. Well, this is a pretty chaotic haul. This is, I think, the second most strange drawer I probably could have chosen. Number 2 is almost exclusively sort of half lengths of really light diaphanous fabric. Kinda glad I didn't get that because it's so structured. Let's take a closer look at what I've got here. A number of doilies, which I don't know that these are gonna be useful. Some more brown stretch corduroy that I used to make my eyeball dress, which I don't think there's enough here. Let's check the length requirements real quick to see what I can actually make this out of. Okay, it looks like I'm going to need a minimum of like 2-ish yards. Oh no, I could, in theory, if I make the smallest one, I can do it in like 1 3/8, 1.5 yards. Let's see what I have and what will work with it. I think corduroy's probably out. This is fun and cute. Little star print. It might be really cool for like an overlay. That could be fun. Ooh, just some like good twill. She's looking like a contender. Hello Kitty towel, anyone? Felt, oh, actually quite a bit more of that corduroy. Maybe it's doable in the corduroy. How unhinged would it be if I just made a dress entirely out of soft shell? Would that be too unhinged? Just like a rain dress. And we got fleece, more felt, jersey bed sheet. There's plenty of that. It looks like there's a lot, but there's really not of this sort of tweedy thing. Aesthetically, I think it'd go, but I'm gonna be real with y'all. I really don't want to sew another knit right now. A big old chunk of flannel. Oh, I have designs for her though. I have plans. I think we have our winners. I've got so much of this just like standard twill, and I think it'll work really nice for this. But then, see, I always like to make what my mother calls view J, which is an option that never exists on the pattern front. And I think it'd be really cool, if I have enough, to use this as an overlay with the wider skirt over the smaller skirt, and then sleeves. We'll see. This also requires a lining for some reason, and I'm not 100% sure I have enough to do this or appropriate other fabric to do this in. But a woman can dream, can't she? Let's get cutting and see what happens. Oop. Hello. There have been some developments, and I think it's important we talk about them. In the last few days since I picked my fabric and my pattern, I have wanted to make anything but that. A little bit the point of the exercise is, oh, punish yourself by using up your fabric. I'm gonna be real honest with you. I have not much use for a semi-formal dress like that. I bought that Vogue pattern because I thought it'd be a good sort of bodice block pattern and it could be useful in multiple contexts. And after I traced out that whole pattern for that celestial dress that's kind of gonna give corporate frizzle, I think, when it's done, I could not stop thinking about this coat. Now I know you're saying, Grace, that coat doesn't look like anything. And that's very fair, because what you're looking at is a muslin from about 2022. I'll give you a little twirl. This coat is a 1970-something pattern that I fell in love with. It was actually, I think, the first vintage pattern I was obsessed with buying, and began a streak of Etsy purchases that hasn't really stopped, thus this channel. And yesterday I came home from work determined to get started on that dress, but then I found myself getting out that raincoat fabric that I showed you earlier, digging this muslin and the pattern pieces that went with it, as I had done a lot of work to get this to fit correctly. And suddenly I was cutting this coat out. My brain wasn't really in control at this point. My body just automatically wanted to do it. I think what happened was I scared myself straight. Well, not straight, but I scared myself into actually using my fabric for what I intended it to be. I have all that fabric lying around because it was the wrong color, and sometimes that happens when you buy it online. But the fact of the matter is, it is quickly becoming actual spring, and I desperately need a coat. Seeing that fabric and having that chance to think about that coat again just kind of sparked something in me that wanted to suddenly finish that project from all that time ago. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think we're going to, in the grand words of Ross Geller, pivot! It would be really fun to watch my torment. I'm not debating that. That is a lot of what YouTube is. But I think it'd be, for me anyway, a lot more fun to make a cute 70s coat variation, don't you think? Plus, I tricked this thing out with so many little extra bits that I think it'll be a fun ride. First things first, princess seams. This fabric is a unique challenge sent right from the devil in hell himself with a special little kissy for me. It's a polyurethane laminate, or pull, meaning that one side is laminated with a plastic so it's waterproof. But it also means every time you sew through it, it makes a teeny tiny hole in the fabric. So you can only sew it once, and you can't pin it at all. Ironing is also dubious. And it's a knit. Needless to say, everything about this project felt stupidly high stakes. It's a cozy day today. I need to conserve all of my getting cute brain cells for the task at hand, which is welt pockets. This pattern originally calls for side seam pockets, which would usually be fine, but the side seams are kind of far back, but it's not very comfy. And clearly I like to be comfy. We're going to gather all of my spare brain cells and put a welt pocket into the coat pattern. I think I'm going to watch a few tutorials and maybe do a practice and see if I can get this right. Is trying welt pockets for the first time on a knit a great idea? No, but I figure if you do the hardest thing the first time, the next time you do it, it's not as scary. Here you can see my attempts at drafting a welt pocket before the proposal was rejected by my supervisor. I kept going, but she made the right choice. I started this morning at about 10:30 a.m. It is now almost 4 p.m., and this is all I have to show for it. The welts, I think, might have defeated me for today. I'm not entirely convinced that they've defeated me forever, but since 10:30, I have made a huge mess of my living room. I've broken 2 needles, and I don't even have a whole welt pocket to show for it. I have a sort of lumpy welt-ish thing that I messed up the lines on, and so my pockets didn't actually line up because the one that needed the extra seam allowance was the one I gave the less seam allowance, and vice versa. I think we're gonna revisit it tomorrow. I think, though, I need to go make something to eat before I go to work because I am not quite all here. I wonder if this is karma. The universe punishing me for not doing the punishing project it asked of me. Hello and welcome to Deranged Drafting Hours with your host, me, Grace. If you enjoy this angle, subscribe. I lie down talking to the camera a lot. Anyway, the problem I've had so far is that it turns out pull is actually very thick, and then when you add interfacing, it's even thicker. So we needed to slim down. Now, this jacket originally had a side seam pocket, which is pretty much the slimmest pocket option you can go for. The problem was that it was way too far back, and so you're reaching back to get your hand in your pocket. Awkward, uncomfortable, nobody likes that. Instead, what I have done here today is I have drafted essentially a way to add a seam to a thing I already cut. I made an insert, and I'm gonna cut that out of my contrast fabric. I gave it essentially a width of 1.25 inches to make up for the fact that I will be taking seam allowance out of a solid piece I already cut, and then I added an extra set of seam allowance back onto the sides of that to actually make that work. I drafted a nice big pocket that will fit my phone and things won't fall out of it immediately. And to make this all work, I drew my lines of what I was going to do directly onto my original drafted pattern piece. As you can see, this was a pocket piece I drafted originally because originally I was going to have sort of pants pocket style pockets. I do not know what they're called, but what I can tell you is not very waterproof, and they would hang open kind of wide, which again, not what we want for a raincoat. So this is going to be a lot sleeker. This is going to look intentional. It's going to get some of that contrast in it, and it's not going to have, giant gaping where water can get in, because that ain't fun. It's a little risky, because if this doesn't work, I will have cut into my orange skirt front pattern pieces, and that's kind of the ball game. So we will just have to see how this goes. Everybody cross your fingers and hope against hope for me, okay? Are you doing it? You better be doing it. Send your thoughts and prayers in the comments, please. Let's see if karma is on my side today. Turned out karma was on my side, because adding this makeshift seam pocket actually worked out. Okay, knock on wood real quick, just in case. Here's what needs to be said about the zipper placket. Sewing is like baking, in that you not only need to assemble the right ingredients at the right time, but the order in which you do so makes a big difference. I barely escaped this zipper placket insertion with my life, so we're going to ignore the fact that I couldn't make snaps happen. Is my living room a mess? Yes. Is my face a mess? Yes. Is my coat a little bit of a mess? Yes. And frankly, it's because, is my life a mess? Yes. This last 2 weeks has been a circus act of spinning those plates and keeping them up. And I'll be real with you, making a spring coat and making a YouTube video about the making of said spring coat, ooh, that plate fell so fast. So we're getting back on the horse today. And to make my life even just a little bit easier, we're gonna make some forward progress on the lining and the facing, so I don't have to think about the zipper too hard until everything's a little more together. I've got the sleeve cuffs of a boy's waffle knit pinned right sides together with the bottom of the sleeves. This is lining sleeve 1. This is lining sleeve 2. It's a gorgeous paisley that I had to piece together a little bit, because I only barely had enough for the body and one sleeve. I thrifted it and I just could not let it go to waste. Welcome to the Flannel Oasis. This part was remarkably easy compared to the rest of the project. The only thing of note is that I added a gusset to the underarm to give it a little more mobility. The shell doesn't need it because the fabric's already stretchy. And when there was no more flannel to hide behind, I finally attached the coat facing to the lining. I got away with only having to use tissue paper for the one small, uninterfaced part of the collar. It is quickly becoming physically impossible to do anything other than the zipper at this point. It'll all come out in the wash. I think it'll work. I think it'll work. We'll find out. Can you tell I'm losing brain cells by the second? But at least I've got a lining. And here is where I lost a huge chunk of footage that basically finishes the coat. I do not recommend cursed living. I think I've figured out how to break the curse. It's been almost 2 months now. Holy crap, where's the time gone? At first I was like making a joke, but then things started happening outside of my sewing life. My place of work went on strike. The sun was dimmed in the sky and the birds screamed out at the darkness. I grew a mole on my back that looks like Mr. Noodles from Ella. That one's just weird and my dermatologist doesn't know what to do with it. I got really into karma and curse breaking and demonology to find anything that would maybe, fix my situation. To try and figure out if there was some way to figure out if I had accidentally cursed myself, I started going over my old footage. And I realized I had cursed myself in a karmic way. Specifically, I said this. It would be really fun to watch my torment. I'm not debating that. That is a lot of what YouTube is. I'm doing this to punish myself. A little bit the point of the exercise is, punish yourself by using up your fabric. I avoided punishing myself in order to do something I wanted to do. And I realized what I had to do was endure that punishment in this video so I can seal it and everything in the universe will be balanced. So I finished the coat. Instead of making it an easy, digestible reveal, I'm going to make this the punishment. Part of it is the bad audio. Well, that and the fact that I don't really want to get all of my camera equipment in the wet room. We're gonna test how waterproof this coat is by getting into the shower fully clothed at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Hopefully, this will break the curse. What am I doing with my life? It's actually working. I'm not that cold up here, I am down here. Oh, it's so cold. It's like hot and cold at the same time. This is so weird. This arm is a little bit wet now. Okay, goes into the coat. Does go into the coat that way. I can feel it for you. Only you can let it in. No one else, no one else. There's no words on your lips. Today is your life unspoken. Eyes wide open. Today is where your book begins. Rest is still unwritten. You know what? Honestly, kudos to the coat. This arm's dry. Okay. Oh god. Oh, I don't want to get out. It's so wet. Oh, hey, that's not bad. Subscribe.